What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today let's talk about how do you couple rail cars. What's the communication like? The best tips I have for you that I was given from an engineer. There's a little bit that goes into it. It's really easy once you do it a handful of times. You'll actually do this in school. I'm going to tell you how school taught me. I'm pretty sure it's probably still the same. And then I'll tell you what it's really like out in the field. But the number one thing I'm going to start with is be consistent with your car count. Now, what do I mean by that? A typical rail car, a regular rail car, not an auto rack, just a regular one, is 50 feet long. Your auto racks are 75 feet long. But when we count down cars, we're talking specifically in 50 feet. That's what the engineer knows, and that's what they are thinking about whenever you're telling them the cars. So what I mean by be consistent with your car count is, we'll talk about this a little bit more later in the video, but as you're counting down your engineer, you're 10 cars away from a couple. All right, then you're 5 cars. 4, 3, 2, 1, half, 20 feet, 10, that'll do. Whatever 5 cars is to you, so mathematically it'd be 250 feet, right? But it doesn't matter. If 5 cars you is 400 feet, just try and keep it the same, and you'll develop your habits as you go to school and then as you train on the job training. But whatever you think 5 cars is, stay consistent. Try to stay consistent with whatever you think that 5 cars is. And what I mean by that is the engineer will start to kind of pick up on, how close or how far away he is whenever you tell him you're 5, whenever you start counting down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I know that seems kind of confusing. I'll try to explain it better in the video, but that was the biggest tip an engineer gave me. So let's talk about school. What do they teach you in school? Whenever you're making a couple, the first thing they're going to teach you is if you're riding a car out, you're going to say, like you're riding a car up to a switch. You're going to be riding the car, and you're going to be looking ahead, and you say you got 5 rail cars on the back of the engine. 5 cars, 4, 3, 2, 1, half, anywhere in there will do. The engineer will stop. All right, and you'll throw the switch, and you'll say lined in track 1. All right, and the engineer's going to say double check. All right, you're going to say double check. It's lined in track 1. Then you're going to go back to the rail car. You're going to climb back up on there. And you're going to tell the engineer up and riding, shove it south or east or west or north or whatever. Shove it north, 10 cars to a couple, stopping in 9. And they call it a safety stop, right? So you want to stop, I think it's one rail car away from coupling. I would jump up, clump on the rail car, tell the engineer up and riding, you can go ahead and start shoving on them. 10 cars to a couple, stopping in 9. He'll say, all right, 10 and 9. All right, so then you ride, and then you say, all right, 5 cars to a couple, stopping in 4. All right, 4. Then I'll start counting down 3, 2, 1, anywhere in there will do. Then the engineer will stop short. We'll get down, walk to the car that you're coupling to. Tell the engineer that you are at the couple. You're 1 car from a couple. Shove it. All right, when he's going to start creeping back, whenever he gets half a car to a couple, and then some people just say half. And then whenever it gets close, they'll say that'll do. It's all depends on what you want to do. All right, it's whatever you're comfortable. Whenever you start at 5 car count, you have to say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right? If you skip one or you forget this, if you say 5 and the engineer doesn't hear you say 4, he'll stop. That's what he's supposed to do. That's the rule. So in school, they're going to tell you that you got to tell the engineer that you're at the couple. You're going to count down, and this is just how I did it. You can do it how you want to. Like I said, you're going to figure this out when you're out there actually working how you like to do it. Just stay consistent with whatever you like to do. Don't change it up because you're going to confuse the engineer. I would count down, all right, 5 cars to a couple, 4, 3, 2, 1, half, 20 feet, 10, 5, that'll do. Now, it also depends on how fast they're coming in. Don't be scared to stop them if they're coming in hot. There's been plenty of times where an engineer be coming in hot and he's got too much weight or more weight than he thought he did. And I'm counting them down 5, 4, 3, and I ain't heard the slack roll out from him putting the independent brake on. And I'm just going to say that'll do. And if he stops short, oh well, he stopped short. The last thing you want to do is have a rail car couple at 6 or 7, 8 miles an hour. Now, even at 3 and 4 miles per hour, which is within the rules, that's a hard couple. Like when anytime it happened like that, I would just turn my head like this, just in case something broke from the knuckle or something like that. But yeah, but the main thing here is it's communicating with your engineer, staying consistent with your car counts, making sure both knuckles are open, of course, right? Or at least one. It's better if you have both of them open. It makes it easier. And repetition. That's really what it boils down to, and your communication with your engineer. Now, like I said, you have to tell your engineer at school that when you're up and riding, and when you're on the ground, and when you're at the couple. Then you have to count down from 5. You have to go to count down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Or half of anything before that. 20 cars, 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 50 cars, 25, 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Whatever, however you want to do it, as long as whenever you get to 5, the engineer knows you're at 5, and you count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, something else. Again, don't be scared. If you're riding a shove, and he's coming in hot, and you're like 10 cars to a couple, and he's moving quick, and he ain't stopping, that'll do. Right? That'll do. And you can get on and off moving equipment. If the engineer scares you and you say that'll do, and just stop him. And if you say that'll do and he ain't stopping, jump off that joker. Like, you can get on and off moving equipment. I think it's within a certain mile per hour. I don't know. I forgot what it is. I think it's within 3 or 4 or 5 maybe. But that's the best advice I have for you. Now, that's strictly school. Now, I don't even want to tell you guys how you do it in the field so you can see it for yourself. But a lot of you guys that are now in school or actually out on the job training, you're going to see how these things are coupled. You don't, when you're at school, do what they ask you to do. Tell the engineer, the RCO guy, it's going to be your instructor right next to you. Tell him when you're up and riding. I know it sounds goofy. And then tell him when you're on the ground, and say when you're at the couple. You can practice these habits when you get out in the field. It's really easy to forget about them because you start working with conductors that did what I did, and I did the same thing. So when I first started, I was saying up and ride and all that stuff, and I quickly found out that you don't have to do that, and I quit saying it just out of not wanting to sound different. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be one of them, and there's no shame in saying all that. It's your safety. You say what you want to. Doesn't matter what anybody else says. Don't fall into the trap that I did. But out in the field, this is how I coupled cars, right? So I didn't tell the engineer when I was up and riding. I didn't tell the engineer when I was on the ground or at the couple. My typical switch would be, I really wouldn't ride that much, depending on what yard I was in or local I was running. I rode the shove coming off the main line because you had to, but typically for me, it was, we'd stop short of the switch. I'd unlock the switches and throw them, walk on down to where I'm, walk to the track or walk to the couple I'm going to. Or, if I had to throw 2 switches, I would throw the first one and then throw the second one, stop and yell at my engineer, say, all right, I got you lined in track 1. He'd say, double check, and I'd look at both switches I just threw, double check, come on back 10 to a couple. And I'm walking to the rail car we're coupling to, and he's shoving behind me. Now, by this time, I'm, 8 or 9 car lengths away, so I'm not, like, walking next to him. And as I'm walking towards the rail car, I'm looking at behind me, and I'm counting them down. 10 cars, all right, you got, and then whenever he gets within 5, I'm like, all right, you got 5 cars to a couple, I'm at it. That's what I would say. And I'd say 4, 3, 2, 1, half, 20, 10, 5. That'll do. Now, the reason I said 5 is because my engineer, Egg, he knew how I like to couple stuff. And he knew whenever I said 2 cars, really it was about 3. Whenever I said 1 car, it was really about 1.5. And whenever I would hit either that 3 or 2 mark, I would hear him apply the independent and the slack would roll out. And then that's how I knew, he's going to start creeping. So he'd apply the independent, slack would roll out, then he'd bail it off real slow like, and apply it real, and then he'd be creeping up to a rail car. And then I'd say half, and he's barely moving, like maybe 1 mile per hour. And I'd say 20, 10, 5, and he'd just let them hit. And then whenever he coupled, it didn't even move the cars hardly. Now, when it comes to coupling cars, the best practice is, and I like to do it too, because sometimes you'll couple up, and there's a mechanism inside this knuckle, and it's called a knuckle lock. And you'll see it whenever that knuckle closes, or a cut lever. When you're pulling the cut lever, you're pulling a knuckle lock up, and you can actually see it. It will actually be, you'll see the knuckle. Where's my hand turn right here? If this is the knuckle, there's a piece that comes over it, and it locks that thing in place so it can't move. Whenever you pull that cut lever, it pulls that knuckle lock up so it frees it open to open up, right? Now, best practice is, whenever you couple up, tell your engineer to stretch on them, right? Stretch on them, and just stretch, pull on them, whatever you want to say, just to make sure those knuckles are locked. Because the last thing you want to do is couple up, lace your air hoses, cut your air in, right, and then you go ahead and tell him take them ahead, and as soon as he takes them ahead, those knuckles fold back open, shoots a train in emergency. So that's a good practice to do. No matter how many times you couple up in the night, couple up, stretch on, couple up, stretch on. That way you're not double working yourself. Yeah, it's kind of monotonous and the same thing over and over, but I promise you the engineer don't care. All it takes for him to do, bail the independents off, put it number 1, number 2, stretch on them, and then he'll, apply a 3-step, and so on and go on. So that's how I did it. Now, as far as riding rail cars, I say I coupled up, lace the air hoses, cut the air in, go back to the back, cut the air chuck out, cut the air off, let it start building up. And I would go ahead and tell the engineer, whenever you're ready, take them ahead. And why I say whenever you're ready, he's got to build brake pressure, right? He's got to build air brake pressure before he can leave. And it's more of like a respect thing. Like, I know he's trying to build air, and I'm in no hurry, so whenever you're ready, take him ahead. So I'm riding on the back. Now, I'm looking at the switch I got to throw next, right? So I'm watching the engine go by it, and I say I'm 5 cars away. I'm like, all right, 5, 4. He can see it too, but I'm still going to count him down so he don't have to look at it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. At 1, he's already slowing down. I'm going to step off at 1. And I'll say half, and then I'll just say that'll do. I don't count them down to 10-5. I'll just 1, half, that'll do. Throw the switch, and then the same thing I did before. I throw the switch, and he's already like 2 cars up ahead of me. And I'll say, all right, got you lined down the main. He'll say, double check. All right, double check. Come on forward to a couple. And I'm walking back to the couple. And then 4, 3, 2, 1, half, 10, or 20, 10, 5. That'll do. All right, so that's how I did it. Now, I know that's a really long way of doing this, but I'm just trying to help you understand, how you do it in school versus how you do it out in the field. As long as you're being safe about it, as long as you stay consistent with what you do, and the engineer will pick up on how you do things, and he will work with you. So that's why I'm saying stay consistent. No matter how long your car count is, no matter your process of coupling a rail car or getting 3-step, just stay consistent with what you do. That way the engineer will kind of predict what you're going to do, and don't do anything different. If you're going to, let them know. Like, let them know, hey, I've got to do something else, blah, blah, blah. Communication is key. You're putting your trust in this engineer. The engineer's putting the trust in you that you're going to do everything right, and y'all both aren't going to get fired, and the engineer's not going to kill you. Thank you guys for all the support, comments, all your great ideas. If you have any video ideas, let me know. I promise I'll get around to them. I have a big long list of comments and stuff that I have. I think about these weird videos while I'm fishing them, and what I try to put myself in y'all's shoes again. What I wish I knew before I went to school, or while I was in school, or before I got out in the field. So anyways, y'all be careful, be safe. Let me know how school's going. Let me know how on-the-job training is. I care. I want to know how y'all guys are doing. I want to make sure y'all are doing good. I wish you guys all the best. And I will see you guys soon. Y'all be careful.